What's up guys, Kplays here. Today we're finally going to talk Artian horns. Mostly to go over why they're so good, but also why, oddly enough, that's not the general consensus across the entire hunting horn community. You see, for each moment that I see them praised, I see another person absolutely slandering these horns, and I find that pretty weird. This whole situation is probably the first time I've seen the strongest options for any weapon class not be unanimously accepted as the best, and yes, spoiler alert, these are the strongest horns in the game, in nearly every category, save for a few we'll talk about in a bit. Before we get too deep into the reasons why though, let's wind back a bit and talk the basics. It'll help to understand these for that conversation. So, the Artian hunting horn. Omiltika, an ancient device with latent potential. At full bellow it sings of the civilization it lost. This horn is what you get from combining ancient discs and two devices from the Artian relic crafting system. There seems to be a bit of a love-hate relationship towards its visual designs, but I personally kinda like the whole futuristic motif. It almost looks like it's not even a musical instrument at all, more like a part of some larger machine, but since it makes funny noises, the hunters of the current times just went, yep, that's probably a hunting horn. Speaking of, let's listen to those ancient futuristic tunes. But sounds and looks aside, compared to other weapons, the stats on this one will take a little bit more explaining than others due to the way it's crafted. At its most basic, Omiltika is a 190 true raw horn with 5% affinity and a small bit of natural white sharpness. No built-in skills like the normally crafted horns get, but in exchange, Omiltika has 3 level 3 decoration slots for the max amount of weapon skill space. Notice I'm not mentioning songs here though, that'll make sense soon. The Artian pieces you use to forge this weapon can come with an element and then either a +5 to true raw or affinity. That means that before reinforcements, you can potentially hit anywhere from a 190 to 205 raw, 5% to 15% affinity, or any midway point in between those two. I'd suggest sticking with plus attack pieces though, since your attack boosting songs work based off your base attack stat, and it's not all that hard to get affinity from armor skills. The basic max might, weakness exploit, and antivirus skill template that most people have been using will get you to 90% already once all the conditions are met, so you don't really need to add any from the weapon itself. Reinforcements then can be added up to 5 times using special ores, adding either +5 to attack or affinity again, 30 sharpness, or 50 status or element. For these you'll generally be shooting for as many attack rolls as you can because of the same reasons I mentioned before, with a single sharpness augment if possible. This is mainly for being able to comfortably stay in white sharpness for your best damage output. You could technically go for the full 7 attack rolls for a whopping 230 raw Omiltika, but dropping down to just 225 for 30 more hits of white is only a 2% decrease for a lot more benefit, so this is the quote-unquote perfect roll I'd suggest. Which RNG so far has absolutely refused to give me, but I digress. A roll or two with element or status is alright, as long as you don't shoot for as many of those as possible. If you want to see the actual math breakdown on this, I'd suggest watching Zook's Artian Horn video, and I'll be digging into the mechanics of status and element on Hunting Horn in a future video on this channel. But the short reasoning as to why this is basically, Hunting Horn like raw. Hunting Horn want build raw. Yes, even on status and element horns. The net benefit you gain from piling on more status or boosting your elemental values through the roof isn't quite the same as it would be on other weapon types due to some very weird mechanics in Hunting Horn's damage calculation. Again though, that's a topic that really needs its own video to get into, otherwise we'll be off on that tangent all day. Bringing things back to the main subject of this vid though, while you want 7 attack 1 sharpness on your Omiltika, you don't need it in absolutely perfect roll. A lot of just good enough ones will end up statistically outperforming most horns in the game. You don't farm to get a perfect weapon here, you get a pretty solid weapon with pretty much whatever you roll, you're just farming to improve it. At worst, unless your rolls are all absolutely terrible like all affinity or something like that. An average set of reinforcements will at the very least be a side grade to the next best crafted equivalent. And the reason why Omiltika competes with so many different horns at the same time is because it's really kind of 3 horns in one, or potentially up to 10 depending on how you look at it. Let me explain that. When matching up your disc and devices to create an Artian horn, having 0 of the same element or status pieces will give you a raw horn, while 2 to 3 will grant you an element or status. If you do the latter, it's ideal to match all 3 so you get an extra 30 element or status, but that aside, each of these options will actually give us 3 entirely different song lists and echo bubble options. This makes the Artian system kinda like Safi Jiva Light if you've ever played Hunting Horn and Iceborne, because while we're able to tweak our stats as we like, our song abilities on the other hand aren't fully customizable. A raw Omiltika, it's the purple, blue, orange song list, which gives us the most common / general purpose set of buffs of the three. A small attack / defense buff, an additional defense up large if you need a bit more staying power, all wind resistance, stamina use reduced for your stamina hungry bow and dual blade teammates in multiplayer, and the offset melody special performance. The Echo Bubble gives you immunity to ailments and elemental blights for an additional bit of utility depending on the matchup. And finally you have Echo Wave Slicing as your recital attacking song. This variation is built for use against pretty much anything and in pretty much any team. There's no specializing against anything in particular, just get up those general buffs and start swinging. Echo Wave Slicing is unique in that it's the only sound-based attack that can crit, making any horn with them better able to take advantage of the affinity on it. Because of this, and the solid raw stats, Raw Omiltika is currently sitting in a 3-way tie for the best raw hunting horn in the game, alongside the Guardian Resounding Galahad and, weirdly enough, the War Conga from Congalala. One of these things is not like the others, if you ask me. Yeah, if this Artian horn had the attack affinity bubble of the Conga horn, it'd have the clear lead, but for now we're going to let Congalala keep its win. With there being a 3-way tie though, you have enough normal options that compete that you'll be fine with either making or skipping this one. It's really up to you. Moving on to Element, we're starting to get into the really strong competitors. Between switching to the purple, yellow, orange song list and keeping the immunity bubble for protection against Dragon Blight monsters specifically, this variation is uniquely geared up to make the most out of matching elemental weaknesses. Elemental attack up is a given for that aim, and having both the element echo waves and resounding melody in your repertoire is amazing for elemental damage output. Echo Wave punishes single weak targets, while resounding blasts through long monsters with good weak zones across their whole body. This is the only other song list with Restore Sharpness besides the purple, red, orange on Resounding Galahad, so you and your other Blade Master teammates will enjoy having this in your kit. Technically, with good enough use of this song, you could skip out on that recommended sharpness reinforcement, but keep in mind that whenever you play Restore Sharpness, you aren't playing an elemental Echo Wave. Up to you how you want to use that info. Now, when it comes to the crafted competitors, you have Rathalos, Valahara, Raydao, Jindahad, and regular Arkfeld for element. Right off the bat, I'm going to save you guys some trouble of crafting a full suite of Artian elemental horns, because Resounding Galahad is probably what you'll want to go for instead for Dragon. It's a pretty close race in the stats department, and it's got the same Resounding / Dragon Wave combo that our Dragon Artian would, but the built-in Horn Maestro and amazing song list really pull it even further ahead, at least in my book. From there, Artian is the clear winner for Fire and Water and Thunder, while Ice is a pretty close match. Title Update 1 will be bringing us Mizutsune and later Arch-Tempered Raydao, so that might change things there, but for now, Artian is the way to go 4 times out of 5. The only thing that might change my mind there is if you'd want Offset Melody instead of Resounding Melody, which all the crafted weapons have. Like for example against that aforementioned Arch-Tempered Raydao. Lastly, we have Status, and oh man, these make me happy. If you remember way back when, months ago, when I made the wishlist series for Wild's Hunting Horn before we saw any reveals, there were 3 things I wanted in particular. For Elemental Hunting Horn to beat out Raw, for Status to be a really good match for Hunting Horn, and a song that puts monsters to sleep. So imagine my hype when we got all of those. In matchups with good hit zones, Elemental Hunting Horn is a clear winner across all horns. Artian gives us an option for Status horns with high Raw, so they're actually pretty good too. And not only did we get Echo Wave Sleep, we got Echo Waves for every single status. Consider me psychic and let me start making predictions that Hunting Horn will be a top 5 weapon in the update for Wilds. But jokes aside, if you don't want to match weaknesses, you can't really go wrong with a solid Status Hunting Horn, and Status Omiltika is about as solid as you can get. With the purple, light blue, orange song list, Status Attack Up is again a given, but you also get all ailments negated so that you can't be affected by any yourself. Divine Protection, Offset Melody, and the Defense LA Resistance Bubble provide a nice bit of staying power in case a monster manages to sneak a hit between all that lockdown you'll be dishing out. And Status Echo Waves. These are where the magic really happens. Long story short, I haven't really been looking at the gunner weapons, but as far as melee weapons go, Hunting Horn may actually be the best status weapon in the game thanks to these. They output status better than any melee weapon can thanks to the high built-in status values and the 100% application chance instead of the usual 1 in 3 that conventional melee hits use. Expect very, very frequent paralysis, sleep, blast, and poison procs to be going off all throughout your hunts if you really keep up with your Echo Waves. In order of overall usefulness and comparison to our crafted options, you'll want to prioritize Para first, then Blast and Sleep. Poison will just exist off on the side somewhere. It is essentially a direct upgrade to the Gypsyros Hunting Horn, even if only about 8 or 9% effectively. But both unfortunately suffer from the fact that Poison is the weakest status in the game right now. Maybe if we get a good armor set down the line with Foray, my opinion might change there, but we'll talk about that when it happens. If you do want poison though, you can use the Artian, or you can just use the Gypsyros horn that's right there early in high rank, no farming needed. Focusing on the stronger ones though, Para specifically is literally strong enough to hang out with the top picks for Raw simply because the lockdown gives you a ton of free time to beat on an immobile monster. It's actually pretty good for a lot of weapons, but Hunting Horn likes it the most because it has the added benefit of giving good old Echo Bubble damage uptime. If monsters don't move, you don't have to worry about them moving out of your Echo Bubbles. Vespoid is your only other choice here, trading the better status output for worse damage. Blast Artian versus a Jarkon is actually the opposite, with the Jarkon having attack up so you can boost your Raw. But against a particularly weak blast monster, the damage from extra explosions may actually put it ahead. You can pretty much go either or for this category. Finally, Sleep gets a special mention because Omiltika is the only way to get Sleeping Hunting Horn at the moment. Thanks to the status being notorious for getting wasted by that one guy who won't stop attacking in multiplayer, this one's best saved for soloing or hunts with more coordinated groups. Since the Echo Wave Wake Up isn't as consistent anymore due to the new Encore's multi-hit nature, Offset Melody is your best bet here, and it has the benefit of coming with hyper armor, so you can also stack some bombs into your Rude Awakenings. You'll want to save those Echo Waves to force the monster into its next nap time anyway. That's the whole wide array of Artian options compared to the normally crafted horns in a nutshell though. And with that, we come to the big question. If these things are outright better than darn near everything in the game, why aren't they being talked about or used more? Shoot, I've even seen people claiming that they're outright bad, only to recommend horns that are notably weaker. Why is this? Where's the disconnect? Well, the way I see it, it comes down to one of the factors that makes Hunting Horn, songs. Unlike other weapons, where you can just compare two sets of stats and go, yeah, this one with the higher numbers, that's better. Songs add an additional set of things to consider. Keep in mind though, I'm not saying that this isn't also true with Hunting Horn. It absolutely is important to look at your stats and personal damage potential with this weapon, despite its supportive aspects. It's just that we have a little more to think about. That opens Hunting Horn comparisons up to personal preference, support versus utility and conventional damage min-maxing, and a wide array of differences in opinion. Aside from the raw variation, which players are unlikely to go with very often, the Artian song lists aren't exactly what I'd call conventional. Even post-attack up nerf, people still look at song lists nowadays through the old lens of no attack up equals bad horn. The reality of this, I think, goes two ways. First, number comparisons aren't being done like they should. With 4 to 10% being the new attack boost from these songs instead of 15 to 20% like it was before, the gap in no attack up Hunting Horn needs to beat one with that song is much smaller. The difference in output may be larger if you consider attack up being shared with other hunters in a team setting, but for us specifically, there are actually a lot of horns that compete with song lists that we would have never even touched in the past. Second, well, thanks to the dual weapon mechanic, none of that really matters. If you use the best weapon pairing in the game, double horns obviously, you get twice the song list without suffering from that duration decrease that happens if you pocket horn using another weapon. That means that if you're not a fan of Artian horns because they don't have attack up, guess what? Yes, they do. Or earplugs, or affinity up, or recovery speed, or any other buff you wish they had. Just pack a secondary horn with your songs of choice, make sure you run Horn Maestro for the max duration so you don't have to swap often, and you can enjoy the more powerful stats on the Artian horns. They become even better when used like this actually. The main reasons I could see to not go out this route if you prefer another bubble or special performance, since those are a lot harder to juggle with double horning. But luckily for that side of the debate, if you swap to a crafted horn, you will be just fine. You will also be taking a hit to your effective stats. I won't everything is viable sugarcoat things here. But unless you're min-maxing or speedrunning, that's alright. A horn besides Artian more often than not is a personal damage nerf, but how much of one it is varies from horn to horn, and might not even actually be that big of a gap. Additionally, even if it is, how much you value the utility of another choice may or may not make that a worthwhile trade-off for you. I mean, hey, my personal weapon bias only goes as far as urging you guys to pick up a Hunting Horn. Once you have, I won't force you into choosing a specific one. All dutes might not be created equally, but they are still all dutes. With that though, we've wrapped up pretty much every major contender you should be looking at as a Hunting Horn main from the beginning of low rank all the way through endgame, and it also starts my individual weapon coverage. Title Update 1 is right around the corner though, so we could still see some meta changes here. In the meantime though, if you watched this far, share your best Artian RNG rolls down below so I and everyone else can be sad we didn't get them. And let me know how you feel about the Artian Horn yourself. Till next time though, this has been another KPlays and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.